Hello and welcome to the 17th video in the PHP Live e-commerce series. This video is not live, I'm recording it, but I'm going to be recording it in the same format that I generally record live. So it should feel very similar. It's probably going to be real similar in length as well, although I'm not really sure how to judge how much time this is going to take. Sorry that it's been a few weeks since I've had a live stream with you guys or have uploaded any videos. My oldest son just graduated high school and he is going to be going into computer programming. He starts in August, so what I'm doing this summer is the time that I had dedicated towards doing the live streams on Tuesday nights, I'm spending with him, and we are learning to program together just to give him a big boost going into college. So I haven't forgotten about you guys. The other reason I haven't done this video sooner is because when I dove into the code, where we left off in the last video and how much more we still needed to do as far as finishing up the options and inventory systems, would have taken more than just one video for me to do it live. And so what I've done is I've completely figured out everything ahead of time and refactored everything, and so this video is going to be a little unique in the way that I'm just going to be showing you guys the code that I figured out. And I know that's not ideal, but it's just it's such a big refactor that I don't want you guys to get your project screwed up, and I think we can just kind of follow along file by file and explain things really well in that way. Plus, I didn't want to spend too much time on just this one feature. I do want to add a couple more features to the series. I thought this was going to be the last series, the last feature that we were adding, but we're going to do product reviews and ratings. So it's going to be like the 1 through 5 star system where people can rate them, and then you can see the reviews and the ratings on the products. And then we get to wrap up a little bit of user login type information, and that will be probably where we wrap this up. Now, the stuff that I'm working on with my oldest son is also going to benefit you guys because we are actually building a social networking site from scratch using React and PHP as a backend. And so once I have finished that project with him, I will be uploading that series for you guys to code along with me and build a social networking site. We are doing a Twitter clone, so it will be like Twitter. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump in to some code and try to get through this refactor. It's about as fun as jumping into a barrel of fish hooks because there's just so much code. I think there's 18 files that we have to change, and a few of those files are significant, and so just make sure you guys follow along. I'm going to be posting this as usual at the end of the video, so you guys will be able to check out my branch and see if you have any errors or mistakes. You can get the code from Bitbucket. All right, then let's jump right in. I'm going to switch over to my screen. Also, I want to tell you guys that I do appreciate each and every single one of you, and I do miss you guys and miss having those conversations, and I do plan on getting back to the live streams after this summer, hopefully. But yeah, also might have some other exciting news where I may be partnering with another YouTuber, not just a YouTuber, he's a really close friend of mine, and so we are putting our heads together to figure out how we could maybe put out a weekly or bi-weekly series that you guys would benefit greatly from, because he's very intelligent and I'm okay. So when you put us two together, we think we can bring a lot of value to the table. All right. So I am here in my project. So let me go ahead and close this down, and I think the most beneficial thing for us to do to not like lose track is we're going to start with the models that we need for this project, the changes in the models, and we also need a new model. So we'll do all of our back-end changes first, and then we'll jump in and do all the front-end changes kind of all at one time. So there's going to be some functions you don't know really what we're building them for, but it'll all come together by the end of the video. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do probably is let's go ahead and create a new model. So I'm here in App Models, and I'm just going to create a new file here. And if you remember in the last video, we added a new table called Product Option Refs. We're going to create a model for that. So we're just going to call that Product Option Refs, the same as the table, like that, .php. And then we'll open and close our PHP tags, and we're going to go ahead and define our namespace here. So that will be app models, and we need to use core model because it will extend that class. And then we will just go ahead and create our class. So it's product option refs, and this will extend model. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to tell it what table. So we use a protected static variable for that, our property, and that will be table, and that table was called product underscore option underscore refs. The next thing we want to do is add an additional static for soft delete, and actually we don't have to add that because we're not using soft delete on this. So the next thing we do is just define that our columns that are in our table. So we'll do public ID created at updated at product ID option. Now remember, this is the table that it has the references, so it's the many-to-many relationships between products and the options. And then inventory, and we're going to give that a default of 0. And that's it. That's all of our properties. The one thing we want to do is make sure that before save, so we're going to add the before save hook here. So public function before save, and what we want to do there is say call this timestamps, and that will create the updated at and created at timestamps for us. The next thing that I want to do is create a method that we can use to get an option that exists. Now we don't want to end up with multiple copies of these rows in our database for each option and product combination. So what we want to do is create a function that can get the one if it exists in case we update it. And we'll be doing that because inventory is going to be stored on the same reference table. And so we can grab the one that exists or create a new one if it doesn't exist. So we want to do a find or create method. So what we're going to do is, and we're going to create that as a static function. So it's going to be public static method or function here, find or create. And this method is going to take a couple of properties here, and that will be product ID will be the first, and then the option ID is the second. And that's the only parameters that we need to pass into that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say ref equals self find by product ID. Now this find by product ID is going to we're going to pass both of those down to this, so product ID and option ID. And the reason we're doing this, we're going to actually create this function next, but the reason we're doing this is just because we're going to need not only to use find or create, but in some instances we just need to find it if it exists and we don't want to create it. So we're going to need both of these methods. So I'm going to go ahead and create that other one, which will be a public static method find by product ID. and it takes the product ID and the option ID. Now this method is just going to be very simple. We're going to return self find first. Okay, and then the conditions are going to be, we want to do the product ID is equal to, and we'll bind that value, and option ID is equal to, and we'll also bind that value. Next thing we'll do is our binds, and these binds we're just gonna pass down our product ID and our option ID. Alright, so that's it for that method. So now we can jump back up into this find or create, and what we want to do is, it's the first thing we're going to do here is find it, but if it doesn't exist we need to create it, and so that's really easy. So we're just going to do an if statement here, and we're going to say if not ref. So if it doesn't exist, the reference doesn't exist, then we're going to say ref is equal to new self, and that will create one of these objects that we're in, which is the product option refs. And then what we're going to do is populate that. So we'll say ref product ID is going to be equal to, and we'll cast this to an integer, but that's going to be equal to product ID. The next thing we want to do is say option ID is equal, and we'll also cast this to an integer, and we'll pass down option ID. The next thing, all we need to do here, we're actually not going to save it here, so this won't actually create it, but it will generate the object. So then all we're going to do here is return the reference. Okay, so that should be all that we need to do in this model. We're going to be using this find or create and this find by product ID in the code for the other stuff that we get to. Now this is again what will store. In the last video we just manually entered those values into the database, and so this will actually find those and create those. Alright, then the next thing that we want to do is let's jump up to the changes that we're going to need to make in our cart items model. So let me open that up, and the one thing that we're going to do here is we need to include that product option refs class here. So that comes from our models. We need to include that model because we're going to be using that here in this cart items. And there's really only two small changes that we need to make here. So we have, and they're both going to be made here in this add product to cart. So right here, right before we do these validations for if there's an option selected, what we want to do, let's see, we'll add it right here, and we're going to add an if statement. Well, you know what, before we do that, let's create one more method that we're going to be using, because we need to use that right here. Let me jump down below this add product to cart method, and let's build a new method. And this method is going to return the quantity that is available for each product or each item. So quantity available, we'll call it. And this won't take any parameters, but it does require this to be instantiated, so it's a cart item. So what we're going to do is just initialize a variable here called available, and we're going to set that to default to 0. The next thing I want to do is we actually need to remember our inventory is stored kind of in two places. it's stored in our options reference table if there are options for a product. And then those, if there are options, that will also be stored, an aggregate of all your options will be stored as a cached total inventory value in the products table. But in this case, we want to know if it uses, if it's using options or not, and we need to return the inventory, the total inventory that's available. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is sometimes it's going to be the product option ref inventory that we're returning, and sometimes it's going to be the product itself that we're returning. And so what we're going to do is we are going to look at this cart item and see if there is any option IDs. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a variable called modal, and then we're going to create a ternary operator. And what we're going to do is say if not empty this option ID. So that means if this cart item that's stored in our cart items table has an option ID stored with it, then we want to, the model that we want to return is the product option refs model, and we're going to use the find by product ID. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pass in this product ID as the first parameter, and then for the option ID it will be this option ID. Let me scroll up, make sure my camera is not blocking the code here, and that will be that will return the product option ref if that exists. If it doesn't exist, what we want to do is we actually want to return the product. So we'll just do products find by ID, and what we'll pass there is this product ID. Okay. We'll return this product ID. Now this is a soft wrap here because I ran out of space on my screen, but just make sure the syntax is right with the skinny arrow, so dash greater than. It wrapped down like this. Your code probably won't look like that. Okay, so now that we have that model, this is going to be pretty easy here. We're just going to say if the model exists, so if there's a product, then we're going to return, or actually we're going to set available equal to model inventory. Now the reason that we can do this is because we have a column called inventory in our products. We also have the same exact column in our product option references. So if this cart item, this might be a little confusing, but if this cart item doesn't use options, so you can have products that have options and products that don't have options, then if it doesn't use options, it's just going to return the inventory of the product. If it does have options, then you want to return the inventory just for the option, okay? And that's the reason we had to do this. The next thing we'll do here is we're just going to return available, like that. Let me just check, make sure we're good on recording. All right, so we're in good shape. All right, so now that we have this function or this method here, we're going to use that up here in our add product to cart, because we need to check and make sure that basically what we're going to do is we're going to just check to make sure that there's enough available, so they can't just keep adding carts to the item past the amount of inventory we have available. So if you only have 3 small shirts, you don't want them to be able to add 4 small shirts to the cart. And so we're just going to add an additional little bit to this validation here. And so we're going to say if item quantity is greater than or equal to item quantity available. So if that's true, that means they're trying to get more. They're trying to get more product than we have available to sell them. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to say this add error message, and we're just going to add that to the option ID field, and we're going to say you have reached the maximum available. So that'll add an error message saying that they have reached the maximum available. And I can't add it to this add error message. What we're going to do is do item add error message. So it's going to add that error message to the item. Alright, that should be all we have to do in this cart items model. So let's jump over now to the carts. So if we open up the carts model, we're going to have to make some changes here, and we're going to have to change a couple of the methods here. The first thing that we're going to do is the find all items by cart ID. Let's see, I'm going to scroll up to where you can see that. So this is the find all items by cart ID, and the changes that we're going to make here, essentially we want to add options into this because we want to display in on our front end, we're going to want to display the option inside of our cart items. So we'll have cart items, and we usually show the picture and the name, but if there's an option, we want to show that option name. So if they're getting a medium shirt, we don't want to just say, hey, you're getting the shirt. We want to say you're getting the shirt with the medium option, okay? And so the way we're going to do that is up here in the select statement, we need to add another thing. We're just going to do options dot name, and we're just gonna give that an alias of option. Okay, now in order to do that, we can't just do that, we're gonna have to join that. So we already have this join, this left join here, so we're gonna add one more left join, because even if there's not options, we still want to return. So we're gonna say left join, and we're gonna join options on items.option ID is equal to options.id. Okay. The next thing that we want to do, let's see, we have left join on brands, and let me check here. Oh, the other thing, we're gonna fix a bug while we're here. This find all items by cart ID is returning the product image. And if you delete your product image, it will still return it because we didn't add that here. So we're going to add one more and statement here. We're going to say PI deleted is equal to 0. Okay, so that'll make sure that we're not returning product images that have been deleted. And the next thing that we need to do, we're actually going to have to add a group by here, and we're just going to say group by items.id. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, another little bit that we need to do here is in this DB query statement. Let me just open that up and show you something that's really cool. If you look at the DB query statement, you can pass the class as a third argument here, and if you pass the class, the PDO will fetch that and return it as the model object instead of just creating a database object return there. So we want to turn this as a model, these items, so that we can use the methods that we did here. So basically this method returns all of our cart items. But we want to use this quantity available, and the only way to do that is if we're returning that model with this. And so what we're going to do here is in this query, after our binds, we're going to add one more parameter here, and we're going to return cart items class. And what this does is it gets the class name and it passes it down to that query statement. So that will get us, and we need to make sure, I think we're gonna have to add cart items. Yeah, let's go ahead up here and let's add a use statement. So use app models cart items. Okay, now that should wrap up our cart items model changes. Or no, I'm sorry. We actually need to do a couple more things here. Let's see. I'm just looking. I'm looking at my reference material right now, guys, just so I don't miss anything. Okay, we do need to add one more method, and what we want to have happen is when someone purchases, so we have this purchase cart, and this gets called when the purchase is successful, and what it does is it deletes the cookie and it sets the cart purchase value to 1. But we need to go one step further now since we're doing inventory, and we need to update the inventory by what they bought. And so that's kind of a complex thing, so we don't want to add all that code into this purchase cart. Instead, what we want to do is we're going to create a new method that we'll use called public static function, and we're going to call that purchase inventory update. And it'll accept the cart object as a parameter. So you'll pass the entire cart into that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get all of our items first and foremost. So we're going to say items, and that will equal self find all items by cart ID. And of course we're going to pass in the cart ID into that. So that'll get us all of our items. The next thing we want to do is we want to loop through all of our items and update the products inventory on that. And if it has an option, we need to update that inventory as well. So what we're going to do is do a for each items as item. For each items as item. Then what we want to do is we're going to find the product for that. So product, dang it, I can't type. Product is going to equal products find by ID, and we are going to use the item product ID here. So that'll get us our product. So the next thing that we'll do there is just update the product. So we're going to say product so product inventory is equal to product inventory, so it'll take its current inventory, and we're going to subtract the item quantities from that, and then we will just save the product like that. Now what we want to do is before we update the product, what we want to do is actually we want to check to see if there's an option, and if there's an option we need to update that, and we need to update the product. So what we're going to do is do our same if not empty item. So if there's an option ID, so we're looking if not empty option ID, meaning there is an option on this cart item, then what we're going to do is we're going to find our ref. So we're going to say ref is equal to, now we have we have that method we created in our product options ref called find by product ID. So we're going to use that. We're going to say product option refs and find by product ID, and we'll pass in the item product ID there, and then for the second parameter we're going to pass in the item option ID. So that'll get us our reference. So the next thing that we need to do is just update ref inventory is equal to ref inventory minus our item quantity, and then we will save that reference. Okay, just make sure I have the product options ref here. I do not, so we're going to need to go ahead and get our products and our product option refs class. And were there any other classes we needed here? Cart items. So we had cart items, products, and product option refs. So I think that's it. Yep, so that's all we're going to do here, except for now that we've created this purchase inventory update, we need to call that when we when the cart is purchased. And so what we can do is after this cookie is deleted here, we can actually just call self purchase inventory update, and we'll pass our cart right down into that, and that's it. So this purchase cart method gets called when we have a successful purchase, and it sets the cart purchase value to 1. It deletes the cookie, and now it updates the inventory with our new inventory update method that we just created, and then it just returns the cart. All right. So that's the cart model. I told you this is going to be a big this is a big refactor. The next thing that we need to do is we need to refactor our options model here, and we're just here. I think the only thing that we need to do here is we are going to need to use app model. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we don't need to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a group here, and not only do we need the model, we're going to use the DB, the database class from the core. All right. And so we're going to just create down here, we're going to create one new method here. It's going to be pretty small, so not too big, but what this method is going to do is it's going to be called get options by product ID, and it will accept an ID. All right, and then all we're going to do is if ID is equal to new, then we're just going to return an empty array. Else, we're going to go ahead and create a SQL statement, and it's going to have a join in it, so we're just going to do a raw query here. Let's see, and this will be select options.star refs.inventory. Okay, and we're gonna select that from, maybe I'll just break down to a new line here. So we'll get that from the options table. No, not options ID. And then we want to join product option refs as refs on options.id is equal to refs.optionID. And then, man, my stupid editor, options ID. Okay, and then we'll do where refs.product ID is equal to, and we'll bind that value. All right, so that's our SQL statement. And then we're just going to return db get instance query, and then we're going to pass our SQL, and then for our binds it's just going to be an array that will have our ID in it. Okay, and then we're going to return the results just like that, and that will do it. So let me just double check my syntax here. If ID is equal to new, return an empty array. Else we're going to do this select options dot star and refs dot inventory from options. We're going to join product option refs as refs on options.id equals refs.optionID, where refs.productID is equal to our ID here. So we're going to get our database instance, and we're going to query, pass in our binds here, and return our results. All right, so that's looking good. That's all we need to do in our options model. We need to update, let's see, one more thing while we're here. Let's go ahead and fix some stuff in our product images model. So the only thing that we're going to update here is our delete, because we have a bug right now that if you delete an image, it just causes all kinds of chaos. And so what we're going to do, let's see. I'm looking at the wrong thing. We're going to delete by ID. We're going to update the delete by ID. And what we're going to do is, what we've done here is we've kind of done all this weird stuff where we found the sort and then we've looped through those and changed those. Instead, what we're going to do here is we're just going to create a deleted variable set to false to start off with. And then we're going to say if image, so if this image exists, then we're going to say product ID is equal to image product ID. And then what we're going to do let me copy this. I'm going to copy this unlink here. Actually, I'm going to cut it. And we'll move that here like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say deleted is equal to image delete. And then what we're going to do is say if deleted was successful, then we are going to call self update sort by product ID, and we're just going to pass the product I spelled that wrong, product ID variable into that, and then we're just going to return deleted. So what this is going to do, and then we can get rid of the rest of this, so that cleans that up. But there was a bug, and what we want to do here basically is when we delete an image, we just want to make sure we're rerunning the update sort by product ID, which just resorts all of them. Because what happens is, the way that the code was written is that if you deleted the first image, that was product that was image sort 0, and it wouldn't update, it wouldn't resort those, and so then you wouldn't have an image with a sort of 0, so then it wouldn't show up on the page. So that was just a bug. So while we're here, we just went ahead and fixed that bug, and that is all we need to do in the product images model. Now we have one more model here to update, and that is the this is the products model. So let's open that up, and this is going to get quite a bit of changes, I believe. So let's look down first at our get options right here. This is our get options method. So let's see, it's different here. Actually, I don't know why that's showing up as a change. There's nothing we're going to change here in this get options. Instead, we are going to change something in the featured products, and that is right now it's including products that have deleted images. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually add to this where statement to fix that bug, and that will be, we want to show pi deleted is equal to 0, and then additionally we want to only get products that have inventory. So we're going to say where products dot inventory is greater than 0. Okay, that way if we run out of inventory on a product, we don't want that to show up on our page anymore in our site. So until we have refreshed that inventory. So that's what that adds there. Let's see. I don't think there's, let me double check one more thing. I think that's maybe all we had to change in this. Let me look down here. Nope. All right, so that will, I think, yeah, that will actually do it for this products model. So I'm going to save that. And that actually takes care of all the model changes that we needed it to do. So I'm going to close these models for now. All right, the next thing that we need to do in the back end is change the controllers that need to be changed. Let me get a drink real quick and check on my recording, make sure we're all still good. Okay. All right, so in our controllers, okay. What I also decided to do is, remember how I told you I hate that we had the edit and add admin product stuff kind of separate, and we had to update both of them every time we added something. That was really dumb. So we're going to refactor all of that out, and we're just going to have a single action that saves products, whether you're editing or adding a new one. And that's really easy to do. So we're going to be able to get rid of an entire huge action, and we're going to be able to yeah, I mean that's the bulk of what we're doing here in the admin products. So what we need to do is open up admin products controller, and the first thing we need to do here is in our models we need to also go ahead and add the product options or option refs class here for this model. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to actually delete this entire add action method. So if you click right next to the opening curly brace, it underlines it, and if you scroll down it will underline the closing one. So we're going to grab all of that, make sure you're deleting the correct stuff here, and boom, we're just going to delete that. Okay, we don't need that anymore, that was unnecessary. So that's a huge action. We can clean up that controller quite a bit. There's a couple changes though, since we've gotten rid of that we need to make to this edit action to make this work, and that being we need to change our product. So what we need to do here is ID can get passed in as the value of new instead of an integer, and so what we're going to do is do a ternary operator here, and we're going to say if ID is equal to new, then we're going to return new products, else we're going to return the products find by ID and user ID. Okay. Excuse me. So that will take care of that. All right, then we'll scroll way down here, and we need to set up the inventory changes, and yeah, so we need to go ahead and save the inventory stuff. So we're going to look down here below, like just before we get to this redirect right here, so product images, and then it runs that sort. After that, we're going to set, let me scroll up, so we're right after that, we're going to set our inventory equal to 0, and then what we're going to do is we're going to save any options that come. So we'll do save options. Now our front end is going to send us a list of these options. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if product has options. Okay, so if it has options, then we're going to say options is equal to $_post options. Oops. Okay, so that gets us our options from our posted values. The next thing that we want to do is loop through those. So for each options as option ID, like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a reference. So we're going to say ref is equal to product option refs excuse me. So it's equal to product option refs find or create. So this is going to use that find or create method that we used earlier, and we're just going to pass the product ID, oops, sorry, product ID, and then we're going to pass in the option ID there. So that will get us our reference or create it. And then what we're going to do is set the inventory. So ref inventory is going to be equal to this request get, and then we'll do inventory underscore, and then we're going to concatenate on the option ID there. So that'll get us that from the front end, because the front end is going to have values for each inventory. Then what we're going to do is we're going to save that ref. So we're going to say ref save, and then we're going to update that this inventory here. So what we're going to do is say inventory plus equals ref inventory. Okay, so that loops through all of the options, and it will add a reference and save it and update the inventory. The next thing that we want to do, well, we're also going to have, let's see, if it doesn't have options, we need to do an else statement here, and we're going to say else, and we're going to say inventory is equal to this request get inventory. So there's going to be a field called inventory on the front end. So we'll get that from there, and then what we want to do is outside of that else if else statement, we're going to go ahead and set product inventory equal to inventory, and then we will do a product save. Okay, so that's all we need to do to save our options that we're going to get from the front end and the inventory to our product and options. The next thing that we want to do though is we're going to need to pass some stuff down to the front end, and so we're going to say this view options is equal to options get options by product ID. Okay, that's what the front end will use. And then the other thing that we need to do is our header and our view is going to change, because what we had was we had a view for the front end that said, hey, you're adding a new product. Otherwise we said you're editing the product name. So all we need to do is we're going to pass this view header, and we're going to say that's equal to if ID is equal to new, then that's going to be equal to add new product, else it's going to be equal to edit space, and then we're going to concatenate on product name, just like that. The other thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a let's see, we're going to use a select box that you can search in. So while we're in here, this admin controller thing, let's go ahead and create a new method that our select can use to make an AJAX request to get the options by the search value. So we're going to call this get options for form action. Okay, let me scroll up here, and then we're going to say options are equal to options find. Okay, and then for our conditions, we want to find where the name is like, and then we're gonna bind. Oops, I don't know how that happened. We're gonna bind that value. So let's go ahead and create that bind now, and that will be bind. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have a parent or a percent sign, and then we're going to concatenate on this request get, and then we're gonna get Q. We're gonna use a library called select2. I think that JJ pointed out in the last video. That's the one that we're gonna use. And then we're going to concatenate on an additional paren sign. So what this is going to do is basically find in our options table where our name is equal to our search, okay? Our search value. Then what we want to do is outside of that, let's create an items array. So it's just going to be equal to an empty array. And we're going to say for each options as option. Then what we want to do is we are going to add to our items array. So we'll use this syntax here, and it's going to get an array with an ID, and that will be equal to option ID, and it's also going to get text, which will be the display option, what it's called on the front end, and that's going to be our option name. Now I know we haven't used this yet, but I'm just getting all the back end done first. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set up our response, and that will equal items, and we're going to pass that items array into that. Then the last thing that we need to do here is do a JSON response, because this is going to be for an AJAX request. So we're going to say JSON response, and we're going to pass that response right into that. And that will do it for this controller. So the admin's products controller, that should be it. Hopefully I won't have a bunch of typos when we get to the end of this. You guys might be catching them as I go. The next thing we'll do is open up our cart controller, I believe. Yeah, cart controller. And let's see. One thing I'm going to do is just while we're here, clean up this little dump and die that was commented out there. And then one thing I want to do here is, instead of, where is it at? Let's see. Next action. Where are you at? Where are you at? Oh, I'm sorry. In the add to cart action, right here, this error message, I want to pass in errors option ID. Okay, and that's so that if we're trying to get more inventory, it'll give us that message back instead of you must choose an option. So that's what this is going to do, because remember in that model we added an additional validation to check if there's enough inventory. All right. Alright, so let's see. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. So this one was really simple. That's all the changes we needed on the cart controller. The next one is the products controller. And this won't take very much either. Let's see, we have the details action, and what we want to do here is right here after this check for the redirect, we're going to do a little something different. We're going to set options equal to product get options, and then what we want to do is create select options, and we'll set that equal to an empty array that has an empty key. And then we're going to pass in choose. I'll do a dash space choose and option space dash. Okay. And we're doing this because we're going to replace, right now we're doing all this logic in the view, and this logic should really be done in the controller. And what this is creating our, when you're in the details page on the product, we have that drop down for the options if they exist. And we were doing all this logic in that view, which is, we should probably do it in the controller. So that's all we're doing here. So we're going to say for each options as option, we want to say select options, and we're going to pass in as a key the option ID, and we're going to set that equal to option name, and then we concatenate on space paren, and then we're going to after that paren, or we'll do a space available here, and right here we're going to break out of that string and concatenate on the option inventory, and that will print how many are available inside of that select option. And then right here we're going to call this view select options, and that's just going to be equal to select options. Okay, so that should be all the changes that we need in the products controller. Yes, it is. And the good news is we are done with the controllers. We do need one more kind of back-end thing real quick before we jump into the front-end changes, and that is in the we need to go to the admin. So go to admin menu ACL, and remember how we had the add product action before? Well, we got rid of that, so we just need to update this, the add product, to be edit and then /new. So it's going to take us to the edit action now with an ID of new. So that will be the add product there. And that is all the changes that we need to make for the menu to work. All right. The next change that we need to make, let's see, where do I want to start? Well, let's start on the easiest one. We're just going to do a little cleanup. So let me close controllers and models and open up views. The rest of the changes that we're going to be making is in our views. And I'm going to open up admin products, partials, and this edit images file here. We're just going to remove this console log because that was driving me nuts. Alright, and then we can close that. That's the only change we're making in that file. The next thing that we can do is actually, while we're here, let's just go ahead and delete this form. So I'm going to delete that. We don't need that anymore. And we don't need this add.php view anymore. So we're going to delete that. All right. This is the biggest change now. This change, let me go ahead and, now that we're working on the views, we can go ahead and look. We log in here. And the password is my password. Go to the admin area. Looks like we got some broken stuff. It's fine. I don't even know if all this stuff's gonna work here. We do have a bunch of broken stuff. That's fine though. So what we're gonna do is let's go to the view products, and then let's go and let's just pick on one of these that have like this Catan t-shirt. This one here is going to have options, and so we'll just kind of work here. Now you can see that this edit Catan t-shirt, that needs to change. Let's see. This file is going to be by far the largest amount of changes on the front end. So let's get started. Let me just kind of do the easy stuff first. So remember, we passed in this as the header thing. So what we're going to do is go ahead and open up the edit view, and right here where we're displaying this edit thing here, what we're going to do there instead is go ahead and empty that out, and we're going to echo this header, and that's coming from our that's going to come from our controller now. So let's just double check that, make sure it's working. Yep, so edit Catan t-shirt still there. If we go to add product, then that header says add new product. So that's working. So let me get back to the Catan t-shirt here. All right, now what we want to do is okay, we're going to add right here an inventory text field, and it's going to be disabled if we have options, and it's just we're going to use JavaScript to update that. But if it doesn't have options, we want the inventory to show there. So what we're going to do is jump in here, and down here underneath brand right here, let's go ahead and open some PHP tags, and we'll skip down a line here, and we're going to say inventory input class is equal to class form control input dash small, and then we're going to say if this product has options, then what we're going to do is take our inventory input class, and we're going to add a attribute called read only, and we're going to set that equal to read only. scroll up a little bit here. And then what we're going to do is we can break out of the PHP here. And then we're going to add, we're going to use our form helpers. And we're going to add an input block right here. And that will be a type of number. We want that to be a number field. The label will be inventory. The name and ID will be inventory with lowercase. I spell that correctly, and I still have to spell it correctly. Inventory. And we will set the value equal to this product inventory, and then we're going to pass the inventory input class in next. And then what we're going to do is pass in for the container wrapper, we're going to say class is equal to form group call medium 2, and then we'll just pass in our this display errors right there. And again, that just soft wrapped because I ran out of space on the screen there. Okay, the next change that we want to make here is in the featured. Let's see, what was the change I made here? Featured, this product is checked. Okay, I guess there's no changes that has options. Double checking my code here, guys, bear with me. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to add, let's go to the front end and I'll show you. What we want to do is add our options over here. So we have this has options check. If that's checked, we're going to want to have this wrapper that pops up that we can actually set inventory on and our options on everything. And so let's kind of get going on that. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything, guys, so just bear with me. Okay, so here we go. We need to go past this closing div right here, and before our next row right here, we're going to add a div, and we're going to give this an ID equal to options wrapper, and it's going to have a class equal to row and margin bottom 3. Okay, we're going to actually add a few more things there. We want this to show up only if it has options, so we're going to add an additional we're going to say, we'll do a ternary right here in line, and we're going to say if this product has options. Okay, so if that is the case, then what we want to do is we're going to add a class called dFlex. Else we're going to add a class called dFlex none. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and close those PHP tags there. While we're here, we need to go ahead and close this div for the wrapper. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to add a div with a class equal to call medium, or just call 6, and form group. We'll go ahead and close that div. Okay, and inside of there, what we're going to do is we're going to have a label. We're going to give that a class equal to control label. We're going to close that label tag, and it's going to be options. The next thing we want to do is we're going to create a select here, and this class is going to be equal to multi-options-select, and then we're also going to give it a form control class. We're going to give this a name equal to options, and we're going to use the array syntax there, the brackets syntax. Multiple will be equal to multiple. Okay, then what we're going to do is go ahead and close that select, and then inside of that we are going to loop through. So we'll do a PHP for each. So for each this options as option, break out a PHP, skip down a couple lines here, not that many, and we will do an end for each. And then in there, in that for each, we're going to give this an option with a value equal, and then we're going to echo out option ID as the value. We're going to give it selected equals selected, and then oops, these spaces can't be there. That's just, I don't know how I did that. And then we're going to close that option tag. Whoa. Close the option tag. All right, now that we've done that, then what we're going to do here is print out or echo option name, just like that. So those will be the ones that we've already chosen. Otherwise it's not going to show anything, and all those will be selected. Now the one thing we're going to do here is this is actually going to get, we're going to use that select to thing, and so we're going to target this multi-option select class and turn this select into that AJAX select we were talking about before. The next thing I want to do is outside of this div, the call6 div, we're going to give one more div after that, and this div is going to also have a class equal to call6, like that, and we're going to give this one an ID as well. So So we're going to be doing lots of JavaScript on this page. So this is going to be options, inventory, wrapper, just like that. And then what we're going to do is, for now, we're going to jump in here and we're going to do a PHP for each, and we're going to say for each this options as option, and we'll do open and closing curly braces, and down here after those curly braces we'll close that. But in here what we want to do is we're going to say echo a form helper, and we want to put an input block. Okay, so we'll put an input block here, and we want to make that a type of number, and we're going to give it the option name, concatenate on, not a comma, concatenate on, space inventory, and then for the value for this it's going to be inventory underscore, and then we're going to concatenate on option ID. Okay, and then for the value it's going to be option inventory, and then we're going to give this thing a class of form control. Oops, I'm sorry. Class of, let me go ahead and throw my semicolon here so I don't forget it. So class of form control and option underscore inventory. And then what we're going to do here is add a function. So we're going to add, outside of the class, we're going to add an onBlur and onBlur we want to call calc inventory, which we haven't created yet, but that's going to run a JavaScript function we're going to create here in a minute. It's going to be called calc inventory. And then for our wrapper, we're just going to give this a class equal to form group, and then we want to give this also a data ID equal to option ID. Okay, so I know that's a little complex, but what this is going to do is, for all the options that we have saved in the database, it's going to print out an input block. And well, let's just see if that works real quick. Let me refresh. So we do have this multi-select thing with all these options selected. So this is working, but this is going to get replaced with our select 2 that we're going to install in a minute. Here's our inventory of 0. Don't worry about that right now. And then here's our small inventory, medium inventory. It looks like I do have a problem here on line 48. And that is because I used underscore instead of a skinny arrow. So now let's go back and refresh. There we go. So here's all of our inventory boxes for each option that we add. I only have this many because if we look in the database from last week, PHP admin, my internet is running very slow. Let me check my recorder while it's loading. Let me just restart my server real quick. See if that helps. I may have just crashed. Oh, here we go. So that did load. So I'm gonna go to live. I don't know why my machine is running so slow. And then if we go to, remember last time what we did is in the product option references, we added all of these product options manually. And so that's where we got all of this, okay? So let's continue on with all the changes that we need here. Let's see. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to make sure everything's right here. Okay, so what we want to do is this has options. Put that in the right spot. Let's see. I did not. So we just need to copy this entire row. So everything from line on mine is line 36. So the options wrapper all the way down here. Let's go ahead and cut that. And this was actually supposed to go below this row with the checkboxes and before the product edit images. So I'm going to paste that code there and then refresh the page here. And so the has options goes underneath here. The next thing we want to do is we want to add a JavaScript function that when we check this will hide this stuff and bring it back when we uncheck it. So let's go ahead and do that next. Let's jump back here, and down here at the bottom right after this div, let's go down and open some script tags and close them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say document.getElement by ID, and we're going to find the has options, and we want to add an event listener, and we're listening for a change to that, and then that's going to get an anonymous function that's going to get the event, and we'll open and close those curly braces. Go ahead, let me scroll a little bit past here, make sure my camera's not blocking anything. So this inside of here we're going to call wrapper. So set up var wrapper is equal to document.getElement by ID, and that it was options wrapper. So that'll be our wrapper. The next thing that we want to do is inventory. So var inventory is going to be equal to document.getElement by ID, and that one was just inventory. Alright, so we have those two, and then what we're going to do is do an if, and we're going to say if event dot target dot checked. Okay, and this is going to be an if else statement. So if it's checked, then what we're going to want to do is do wrapper dot class list dot add flex, and we want to do wrapper.classList.remove d none, and then we want to do inventory dot set attribute, and we're going to set the attribute of read only to read only. Okay. Else what we want to do is we want to do wrapper.classList .add d none, and then wrapper.classList.remove d flex, and then inventory.remove attribute read only. Okay, so that's all. So let's test that out. So I'll refresh, and if I uncheck that, all of that's hidden. If I check it, it all comes back. So that's working as expected, that we're in good shape there. The next thing that we want to do is get started on, let's see, there's a couple big functions here. Well, one thing we can do that's fairly easy, we'll save the select to stuff for last. So let's write a function that when we change these, it actually updates this inventory here. Okay, so every time we do an on blur, it tries to call that function. Now if I go and inspect, what should be happening here is if I click in here and click off, it's going to have an error. Well, no, it doesn't, but I don't know why it doesn't have an error. So let's just go and fix that. This time at the top, we're going to scroll all the way here to the top of the page. We already have some script tags here. Tiny MCE. Yeah, I think what we'll do, just to keep stuff a little bit cleaner, is we're going to go outside of that script tag and let's add some new script tags. This isn't totally necessary, we can do it inside the same ones, but I'm going to be putting some stuff in between here at some point. So we'll just do it like this, and we're going to create a new function called CalcInventory. Okay, this function is not going to be that difficult. It's pretty short, but we're going to set a variable of total, and we're going to set that equal to 0. And then what we're going to do is find our options. So var options is equal to document.query selector all, and then we're finding inputs that have a class of option underscore inventory. That'll get us all of our options. And then what we want to do is do a for loop. So we're going to say for var I is equal to 0. So this is a for loop. And if I is less than options dot length, then what we're going to do is we're going to say I plus plus. So it's going to loop through each one of the options that it finds on the thing in the page, and we're going to say var option is equal to options I. Okay. Then what we want to do here is we're going to say total plus equals parse int. We want to have an integer, and then we're going to get option dot value, and then for the radix here we're going to pass in 10. So this is going to loop through all of our options inputs, find their values, and add it to this total in that loop. Outside of that loop, then all we need to do is do document.getElement by ID, and we're going to find inventory, and we're going to set value equal to total. So let's test that out now. I'm going to refresh here. And first of all, I'm just going to click in here and then click off. And if we look up here, inventory got updated to 18. So if we add all these up, they should equal 18. Now, if I change this value to 12, so if you change any of those, it recalculates this inventory. And this is read-only. So the only way to update this read-only thing is to change these. Now, if I turn has options off, this is no longer read-only, and I can update it here because we don't have options. We just want to set how many are available. But this product does have options. And so I'm going to reset that inventory here. And I'm actually going to test this save real quick. Maybe I'm not going to do that. Okay. We'll fix that in a moment. So our calc inventory is working correctly. The next thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead. Let me just refresh this page. Oh, it did save that. I want to run this calc inventory first. So let me just go into products here and refresh. Hopefully it's okay. It's not taking too long now. I need to go to products though, and let's find that Catan shirt right here. And I'm going to set that inventory back to 0, because what I want to happen is I want this to be calculated off of these options as soon as it loads. And so what we're going to do is right here underneath this function, let's go ahead and drop down, and we're just going to do jQuery document.ready, and this takes a function, just an anonymous function here. And then inside of that document.ready, we're just going to call calc inventory. So that's going to run on document.ready. So let's go ahead and test that. So it's set to 0, and if I refresh the page, it runs that method, so I don't have to do these on blurs, and it runs it one time when the document's ready. So it updates that to 18. All right, so we're in good shape. The thing that we're going to use is select to. So if you just Google select to, and you go here, they have, you can follow along with the installation and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is click on installation, and let's see. What we're going to do is copy this, and that's going to get our style sheet. So we're going to go here to the top, and let's do it here underneath our tiny MCE stuff, just kind of keep it together. So we're going to do, we'll paste that link in there, and then we just need to get the code. There we go. This will load in the actual JavaScript for it, just like that. So we're just using a CDN for these. And then the next thing that we want to do here is I'm going to actually, to fit with our styling a little bit more, I'm going to add a style tag right here. And this is all getting added inside the head of this page, so we're all good there. But this style tag, we're just going to target select to.container, and we're going to set that to a display of block, not black, block. Okay. The next thing that we need to do is inside of our document ready, we're going to initialize this. First of all, let's just go and refresh, and we should be able to look at network and find JavaScript, and we can see that select2 has a status of 200, so we know that's loading in fine. That's all good to go. I'm going to close that for now though, and we're going to be targeting this select and changing it to the JavaScript select2. Okay, so that's what the goal is that we're working on right now. So what we want to do now is we're going to do some pretty complex stuff, but don't get discouraged, just kind of keep up. What we have to do is underneath our calc inventory, we're going to initialize select2. Okay, now here all we need to do is we can use JavaScript or whatever, our jQuery, and we're going to find our class of multi options dash select, and what we're going to do with that is do a dot select2, and that is a method or a function, and that's going to take an object. Oops, I was in the wrong spot. You have to be inside those parens, and that takes an object, and this is basically so that it can initialize this. So what we're going to do is this is going to be a type of AJAX. So we're going to say AJAX, and that gets an object, and inside that object it gets a URL, and we are going to pass in our proot, and then it's going to go to admin products / get options for form. Now this is that action we created earlier, and I got ULR instead of URL here, so that's URL. The next thing that the AJAX thing needs is you need to tell it the data type, and in our case it's going to be expecting JSON. Okay, the next thing that we're going to pass in here is process results. So what are we going to do with the results that come back? That's actually going to take a function, and you pass in the response to that function. So this is going to be what happens when that AJAX request is finished and it passes back. So inside of that, we're just going to return an object called results, and that is going to be set to response.items. All right, so now that we've done that, let's just go back to our page and refresh. Oh, good. And so you can see now that this select has been replaced with this, which has all of our options in it. If I click on it, it gets the options. Now all of these are selected already, but if I would type one in, so let me just type large, it only finds large and extra large, so you can search with this, which is what we want. So if you've gotten to this point, then you're good to go so far. This is working. So that initializes it. Let me see if there's not anything else we need to do there. But what we need to do is we need to create functions for when we select and deselect these. We need to fire off a function to update the page accordingly. Okay. The easiest one to do is the unselect. So when you unselect one of them, so what we're going to do first is do the unselect. So let's go back to the thing here, and I'm going to go down below this, and we'll do unselect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use jQuery again, and we're going to find this multi options select, and we're going to call the on, so this is adding an event listener, so on select to : unselect That's an event listener they added. So select to unselect. Then we're going to run a function. We'll pass E into that, and that's going to be an anonymous function there. So inside of there, all we're going to do is we're going to find that wrap. So we're going to find var wrap is equal to document dot query selector, not query selector all, so just query selector. And we want to find a div with a data ID equal to, and then I'm going to break out of that, and we want to concatenate onto that e.params.data.id. All right, so that's going to find the wrapper. Now that wrapper was the form group that we added that has the label and the input for the inventory. And what we're going to do with that is just do wrap.remove, and that just removes it from the DOM. So let's test that. I refresh. See, we have extra large down here. If I remove extra large, if this works, it's going to remove this entire deal here. Let's try it. And it did. And now if you look inside the select, that one becomes unselected, so you can add that. If I just go down the list and do the same thing to all of them, it does remove all of these boxes, and those are all available to me now to use. But now what we want to do is when we select one, it doesn't add it back, so we need to do that. So I'm going to refresh the page just to get all of our options back, because we didn't actually save that. And so this one's a little more complex, but it's not very complex. It just kind of does a lot. It creates these inputs and plugs them into the DOM. Let me get a drink real quick and check my recorder. Okay, we're doing pretty good. Okay, so let's go now, and above this, let's create our select option, and we'll put a comment on here and say unselect option, so we know what's going on, at least with this code. Alright, so here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up an event listener. So multi options select dot on, and we're looking for select to :select, and this one will also take a function, an anonymous function. We'll pass in E, which is that event, and open and close brackets, and then everything is going to happen in that event listener we're going to put inside of here. So again, what we want to do here is we're going to find the wrap. So we're going to say not car, but var wrap is equal to document dot get element by ID options inventory wrapper. That gets our entire div for our wrapper, and then we want to get our input wrap. So var input wrap, and this what we're going to use here is document dot create element, and this is going to create a div. There we go. So we're just creating a div, and then what we're going to do is do input wrap dot set attribute, and we're going to add the class, and this is going to get a class of form group. The next thing we need to do is add input wrap dot set attribute, and we want to set data ID equal to e.params.data.id. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is create our label. So we're going to say var label is equal to document dot create element, and we're going to create a label element. Yep, we create a label element, and then what we're going to do is do label.set attribute, and here we're going to set a class. We're going to set that equal to control label, and then what we're going to do is label set attribute, and we're going to set 4, and that will be inventory underscore, and then we're going to concatenate on e.params.data.id. Okay. The next thing that we want to do here is we want to set var label text equal to document.create text node, and we're going to set that equal to e.params.data.text plus space, I'm sorry, just concatenate on space inventory. So then all we need to do is we're going to say label.append child, and we're going to append the label text into that. And then what we're going to do is say input wrap, input wrap dot append child, and we're going to append that entire label to the input wrapper. Next thing we need to do is actually create our input to put in there. So let's do var input equals document.create element, and we're going to create an input. Now this is going to get quite a few attributes, so input.set attribute. We're going to set class first. Form control and option underscore inventory. Next, we're going to do set attribute, and we want to set type. We want that to be number. We're going to do input.set attribute, and then we want to set ID equal to inventory underscore, and then we're going to concatenate on e.params.data.id, and then I'm just going to copy this one because the name is going to be exactly the same. And then we're going to do an input.set attribute, and that will be value, and we're going to set that equal to 0. Then we're going to do input.set attribute, and we need to do the on blur, and we're going to set that equal to calc inventory. Yep. Then what we want to do, let's see, calc inventory, and then what we need to do is do an input wrap dot append child, and we're going to append our new input into that. And then what we're going to do is take our entire wrap, and we're going to append a child, and we're going to do our input wrap into that. Okay, so I know that that was kind of a long function, but basically we're just using JavaScript to create all the DOM elements that we need and then input it into the DOM. So that's what that's going to do. One last thing that I didn't think about we probably need to do is on this unselect, we need to probably call the function calc inventory so that it recalculates the inventory there. So let's refresh. So if I remove x small, so inventory is 18, if I remove that, inventory becomes 16 and removes the DOM. Now if I add it back, it added all of this, so that's working good. So now let's see if we update that, if that goes back to 18. So 2, blur it, and now it's back to 18. So that's all working exactly how we want it to work. I think actually this might be done. So let's go and let's just test this. Let's add a new product and we'll just call this delete me. We'll give it a price of 1, list price. We'll select a random brand. I'm not going to put inventory here at all. Just put some junk there. We'll do has options, and then that brings this up. So we're going to select a few of these. Just do small, medium, and large, and then we will add a couple to each one of these. Okay, so that gives us an inventory of 11. Let's find just a random picture, upload to that. All right, so we do have an error here, but I think this works. So let's go here and refresh. So it did add the product to delete me. Let's see if it has options. I'm sorry, the references, and it did not add the references to that. So we do have a problem. It's complaining that expects 1 to be string, and we're giving it an array. So see if I'm missing anything else here. So this goes to the, let's open up that controller. So it actually goes to the admin products controller. It goes to edit. Let's see. I'll look through here. One thing we can do as well, I'm gonna go to inspect, and I'm gonna go ahead and reserve the log on network, and let's refresh that, and let's just look at what I'm doing here is I actually want to see what is being posted. Save that. All right, so options, we have images sorted is an array, and product images okay. Look at the stack trace. It looks like DB It looks like it doesn't like something that we're passing through the, most likely the input helper. So let's look at what form helpers on line 200 is. See if we can get any clues. Line 200. So it's the sanitize that it doesn't like. So it's probably an assign that's happening somewhere here. Or a request get. So let's look for those here. Okay, so we have a products blacklist. Let's check what's in that. So let's go to our models, products, and in our blacklist, we have ID, deleted, and featured. So let's go now and look at, okay, so options. We need to probably add options to that blacklist. Maybe images sorted. Let's just try to add options. Okay. We're just trying to find what's causing this bug. Add one more just to make sure. All right. Parameter 1 to be a string. Let's see if I added that. I wasn't getting that error, I don't think. This is kind of maybe unique to, this might be unique to Linux. So I'm going to go ahead and add, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Options. We had, I don't think it's images sorted because we already had that. Let me just try that, see if that works. And actually what we can do is we can find our assign. We could do a dump and die in there to debug this. Let's go to core model. I'm just gonna search for assign. Yeah. And in here, I'm just gonna do a dump and die of params. And let's just see what's happening here. As options on body inventory. Maybe it is images sorted. I don't know why this would be a problem all of a sudden. Alright, so now let's go back to our model and we'll just comment out dump and die. Wow, I think it was images sorted. Okay. So body is required. I still don't think it's saving these options. Oh my gosh. We got something weird happening here. Let's take a look at this. All right. All right, let's do this. Let's H dump and die $_post. All right, got our token, images sorted. Has options. Options is an array. That has to be what's causing this. Let's put this back here. And then let's go look at our model one last time. Blacklist. If size of list, if blacklist, if alright. What I want to do as well is let's just find out what line this is breaking on. So I'm going to add it after the assign. It's definitely breaking in the assign. Why? Why is this happening? Has options. Whoops. Let's look at a couple things here. So we already looked at params. Well, I guess we'll look at params again real quick. Options is right here. Options comes in as a string here. Let's make sure our list is correct. Let's go to you know what I think we need to do? I think we need to before we run this request get, we probably need to unset that. Let's try that. Let's try if it's post here right after here, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say options is equal to $_post. Did I call anything else options here? I did. I'm gonna get rid of it here. So if options is $_post options, and then we're going to unset $_post. Actually, probably need to unset. Well, we'll try post. Unset post options. Let's try $_unsetting request. All right, that did it. All right, so that was the bug. We can get rid of this dump and die here, and then we can get rid of all right, so now let's try again. All right, I'm going to clean stuff up real quick. So we are in option refs. There's no new option refs. So we have obviously an error there somewhere. I'm going to delete everything below Catan t-shirt. All right, let's go now and try one more. Let's try to add delete me. Who cares? I misspelled it. We'll add ourselves some options here: small, medium, large. 1, 2, 3. Need an image. Upload it, and now we have a problem. All right, uncaught PDO exception, general error. I'm kind of looking at the there's probably a typo somewhere, and let's look and try to be update sort by product ID. Let's look at our, not making it down to here. Let's see if we can read this a little bit better. Coming from edit action, find or create 20 and 1, find by product ID 21. So let's look at those. I might have an error here. Product ID, option ID. Product ID. Just copying all these to make sure I have. Make sure I don't have any typos. Oh, I think there was a typo right there. And there. Oh, wait a minute. I think it just added the dollar sign. Product ID equals and option ID. Okay. After it does that, it comes down. So if product has options, okay. Product ID, option underscore ID. One, 2, and 3. Options 1, 2, and 3, so those are correct. Product refs. We're making it this far. Let's see if we're getting a ref back here. This will tell us if we're making it into there. So we're not, so we need to go inside that function. There's a problem in this find or create function somehow. Product options ref. Conditions. Finds. Let's go in this models find first. And let's see what we got going on with params here. So conditions ID is equal to this and deleted is not equal to 1. We're binding an int of 1 on there. Fetch style 8. Let's result query. Oh man. I'm gonna have to add an if statement here. We're just gonna say if static $_table, if that's equal to product option refs, then I want to dump and die there. So it's not making it through here somehow. What is happening here? Definitely did not have this in my reference material, so I have an error somewhere. I just having a hard time finding it. Option limp htdocs. Select star from. Wish I can see this entire error message here. First, let's Google that error message and see what that is. There's a problem with the bound parameter. Looks like. So, if that's the case, oh crap. I think it's because I used binds instead of bind. Oh my gosh. Sorry guys. I had binds with an S instead of just a bind. Jeez, that was a dumb error. Alright, so let's kind of test things out. Let's see now. It could still have other issues. Nope, that worked. So now let's go and look at our product. We have a lot of those. Let's just go now and let's clean up this. Delete. Yes, and we'll go to products. Delete. All right, last time hopefully. So products, add new product. I'm gonna add delete me. One. Select a brand. As options. Small, medium, large. 1, 2, 3. Select a random picture. Alright, so let's go back to that. Delete me was right here. And it looks like it's loading everything incorrect. Right on. Okay. So now the next question is, does it work to actually purchase it? So let's go back and look at the website. And I don't know what's going on here, but obviously something's broken. So let's see. I probably have another stupid typo somewhere. So let's look at home. Index. It's probably something with this featured products thing. So let's do an H dump and die results right here. We have 0 results. And it's probably because we don't have any inventory on anything. So let me just go and add in the database some inventory to all these. Actually, you know what? Instead of using the database, let's use, let me get rid of this dump and die. I think that's all that's happening here. Yeah, there we go. We just didn't have any products. So let's go to admin, products, view products, and let's just go through and all these ones that don't have options, we need to give some inventory to. Carcassonne 7, 10, 8. Three, tan t-shirt has inventory, but it's not featured, so let's go ahead and feature that so it shows up on the home page. 5 tribes. Sure, we have 20 of those. Lords of Waterdeep. 6. Scythe. 2. Just giving random values to these so they show up, guys. Small world. We're almost done. As long as we're not, we actually probably are done as long as I don't have any other bugs. We're gonna test the whole thing here. Ticket to ride. 4. Alright, let's check our database. Alright, so it updated all of these. Okay. Now if I refresh, we go to visit site. Let's try to buy some stuff. So it looks like on options, if I try to go without an option, it tells me you must choose an option. And the options aren't loading here. Damn it. Okay. So we have a problem there on the details. Products, details, view select options. Let's look at the view, products, details, and oh, we never changed. Okay, I missed I missed a page. I've missed a couple things now. All right. So we have a few more views still. So before we go through and test all this stuff, it's good that we found those bugs, but we do have a few more views to update. The first view that we want to update is, let's get in the admin products, we need to update the index page. And all we're going to do here is, it'd be nice to show our inventory here. So we're going to add another th here. We'll do inventory. And then we just need to add that to the table. So we're going to add another TD here. And this will be product inventory. So that should, if we go to admin, products, view products, now we have this inventory. So it shows us our full inventory in this table for each product. So that's a good thing. That's all we need to do in that file. So we just wanted to add the inventory to that table. So we can close that. The next one we want to do is in the cart. So go app views cart, partials, and product preview. We want to add in the name, we want to add the so let's go ahead, we want to add the option if there's an option. So we're just gonna go ahead and give this some space, and then right here underneath name we're going to do a PHP if statement. Skip down a few lines and do end if. And what we want to do is check if not empty, item option. I spelled item wrong. So if not empty item option, then we want to add a span tag in here. and we are going to echo, actually we're going to put it in parentheses, and then we will echo item option. Okay, that should be all we have to do there. So that's in the product preview. The next view that we have to update is going to be, and we're really close, guys, just hang in here. We have the cart index, and we're just going to add that name here as well. So we're going to come down here to this shopping cart item name in this link right here, and we're just going to pretty much do the exact same if statement that we just did. So if not empty item option, then we want to, we're going to add a span. I'll go ahead and close the span. And then here we're going to add parentheses. I actually want a space, and then parentheses, and then we'll add item option. And in that last file, actually, I wanted to add a space in that span as well. There we go. Okay, back in the index, we have a few more changes, and that is the quantity up and down arrows that change the quantities. We have a check right now that if the quantity is more than one, only more than one, then it shows the up. But we want to limit this, and we only want to show the down or the up if there's available quantity. So this is going to be a little bit weird. So we're going to say, we're going to add a PHP if statement around this. So I'm just going to get the bare bones of that up first. So we'll do an end if here. And then this if statement, we want to know if item quantity is greater than item get our quantity available. Okay. I'm sorry, not greater than. That doesn't make sense. This needs to be less than. So let's check that now. So let's go to view sites, see details, add to shopping cart. Ugh. Man, that pisses me off. We must have another error there. Okay, we'll keep going. Let's just finish the changes in the view files and then fix that bug. I think there's only one more. Yeah, so in the products details.php, right here we have, let's look for has options. Inside this has options, we added this manually, this whole select. And so we're not going to do that. We're going to just use our form helpers. And we'll use a select block. And that will be choose option. Option underscore ID. No value. And then this select options, and then now we just need to do the class form control and input small, and then we'll do class form group call 6. Okay, and then we're gonna get out of that PHP tag there. So let's see, let's go back to this. Now our options are here, so that's what we just changed. And if I, yeah, so something's not working in our add to cart function, so we need to go and check that out. Make sure we don't have any typos there. So cart, add to cart action in this controller. Seems like we have a problem here. And that looks like it's in cart items. Add product to cart. So if item quantity is greater than or equal to item quantity available, this could be because I already have one of these in the cart. So let's check. Let's see if I have an active cart right now. So in order to do that, let's look at application, cookies, and it looks like I do have a cart of value 13. I think that's my cart ID. So let's look at our carts table. Yeah, so I have a cart. Let's look at if there's any cart items with cart ID 13. There's not. So that can't be the problem. And this is the problem. That is supposed to be a method call right there. So let's go and refresh this. If I try to add a small, it says that I've reached the maximum number. Let me just take a look at my reference material here. We're in cart items. If not NV, this option ID, and we'll find by product ID. And there's an S right here. So that could be the issue. Let's try again. Alright, that worked, so that was a bug. Alright, so now if I go to my shopping cart, okay, I got an error there. So let's go and find that. Details. Wait. So let's see, cart index. I got an extra I in option. Refresh that. The tan t-shirt small. And here's our button. So if I click that, it adds another one. If I click it again, it goes to 3, and the maximum I had available was 3, so that looks correct. I'm gonna buy 2 of these, which means after I purchase this, I should be left with 1. Let's try that out. I'm gonna go to proceed to checkout. This all looks correct here. Let's see. Okay, it looks like it was successful. So now let's go back to the shopping cart and see if I only have 2 of those Catan shirts in that small, because I just ordered a small. So t-shirt, it went down to 16, so it looks like that worked. and I only have one small available. So let's go ahead and purchase that. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna purchase one more small. I'm gonna check out. It doesn't have a way to take any up. So we'll check out. Looks like we might have all the bugs solved. Okay, so if I go back here, we'll go to Catan t-shirt, and now small does not show up because I've purchased all of these small ones. So that is good to go. Let's find something else, another product that had a low amount. So Splendor only had one copy. Let's go and buy the only copy of Splendor, and let's see what happens. So Splendor's here. Add it to the cart. We'll go and check out. Okay. Now if I go back to the page, I shouldn't be able to find Splendor. Nope, no Splendor. Alright, well, and now if I go back to admin and say we got more of those in, because I just sold it, so I'll look at view products. Splendor's right here. Let's edit that, and let's say we got 5 more in. And now if I go back to the site, Splendor is back here, and we have a quantity of 5 available to us. So guys, I think that actually wraps this up. It looks like our edit products is working fine. It t-shirts, let's go and update. Since we sold all those smalls, let's say we got 6 more of those in. Save it. Go back to site. I'm just checking stuff. Yep, now we have 6 smalls available. So that is options and inventory, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please comment, like, subscribe. Sorry we didn't do this one live, but I hope you still get a lot out of it. And guys, I will see you in the next video where we will be doing reviews and ratings for our products. Alright, with that, see you guys later.